Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today, we're looking at something that I think a lot of people are interested in, and that's how spiritual principles can actually be practically applied for success in everyday life.
Hmm.
And to help me with this, we have some excerpts from a text called Spiritual Principles for Balanced Living and Practical Success.
Yeah.
Kind of a mouthful, but I think you
Mhm.
get the idea. And I've asked a expert speaker to come on here and help me kind of unpack some of this stuff because it's really fascinating and it's like a roadmap for everything.
Oh, yeah.
Your career, your relationships, even financial decisions, and how to kind of go through all of that and still maintain inner peace.
Yeah, it's really intriguing how this document it connects inner growth with outer achievement, suggesting that success isn't just about, external achievements, but rather aligning our actions with a deeper sense of purpose.
Exactly. Yeah, and one of the things that really stood out to me from today's Merely document was this idea of using future happiness as fuel to overcome present obstacles.
Right.
And I just thought that was such a fascinating concept because it's like having a mental image of your desired outcome.
Yeah.
As a fulfilling career or a loving relationship or financial stability,
Mm.
and letting that vision actually motivate you through tough times.
Yeah, it's like almost like having a taste of that, that future joy,
Yeah,
and it helps you kind of propel yourself forward.
yeah. It reminds me of somebody working towards a dream job.
Right.
They're facing these really nerve-wracking interviews or they're, pulling all-nighters to meet deadlines, but they push through
Yeah.
because they can practically taste, the joy of landing that role.
Yeah, definitely.
I wonder, have you ever experienced this in your own life where, the anticipation of future happiness has actually kind of helped you through a challenge?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I remember when I was working on my doctoral dissertation.
Oh, wow.
There were so many moments of doubt and frustration, but I just kept reminding myself of the sense of accomplishment I would feel upon completing it.
Oh, yeah.
And that really kept me going. It's like
Yeah.
shifting your perspective from I have to do this to I get to do this because it's leading me towards something truly meaningful.
Right.
Yeah.
And it really ties into what we were saying about, kind of like tasting that future joy, right? It's like
Yeah.
borrowing energy from your future self almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
And speaking of challenges,
Mhm.
the text also dives into, how obstacles are just an inevitable part of life.
Yeah.
But instead of, viewing them as failures, which I think a lot of us tend to do,
Yeah.
it encourages us to see them as stepping stones.
Right.
What are your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah. I mean, life, it rarely goes exactly according to plan, right?
Right.
We all encounter setbacks, unexpected expenses come up.
Mm.
Maybe there are some health issues that kind of throw us off course. But it's really the way we perceive these obstacles that makes all the difference.
Yeah.
It's like, like an athlete who gets injured during training.
Uh-huh.
It's definitely a setback, but they use that time to rehab and they come back even stronger.
All right.
Or maybe someone who's facing like unexpected expenses,
Mhm.
it kind of forces them to reevaluate their budget and maybe find some new ways to generate income.
Yeah.
So,
So it's not about avoiding challenges altogether, right?
right,
But it's more about using them as opportunities to learn and grow.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The challenges that we face, they shape our resilience and refine our abilities.
That's a good point.
They're not just roadblocks,
Yeah.
but they're opportunities for growth and development.
Okay, now this next principle from today's Merely document, it's a little bit more philosophical, but it really resonated with me.
Okay.
And it's this idea of seeing ourselves as trustees, not absolute owners, of the resources that we have. So our time, our talents, our wealth.
Interesting.
It's a perspective shift, isn't it?
It is. It is. And it raises an important question, and that is, what is our responsibility towards the resources we've been entrusted with?
That's a good question.
Yeah. And today's Merely document, it uses the analogy of a financial advisor.
Okay.
So they manage their clients' money responsibly and ethically,
Yeah.
recognizing that, it's not theirs to misuse.
That's a good analogy. It really does highlight the importance of stewardship.
Right.
Using our resources wisely and for a purpose beyond ourselves.
Yeah. And it's not just limited to finances.
Yeah.
It applies to our time,
Uh-huh.
our talents, our energy as well.
So everything.
Yeah. And so by viewing our assets as serving a higher purpose, we're more likely to be prudent,
Yeah.
avoid unethical shortcuts,
Uh-huh.
and contribute to the greater good.
Right. So it really makes you think about the impact of your decisions, not just on yourself, but on the world around you.
It does, yeah. It encourages us to think beyond just immediate gratification and to consider the long-term impact of our choices.
Right.
It invites us to ask, how can I use what I have to make a positive difference?
That's a powerful question to consider.
It is, yeah.
It really gets to the heart of aligning our actions with our values, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So instead of viewing ourselves as entitled to what we have, we're approaching it with a sense of responsibility
Right.
and gratitude.
Exactly, yeah.
This principle's really got me thinking. It's amazing, isn't it? As we're going through these principles, I'm realizing how interconnected they all are.
Yeah.
Like this idea of trusteeship.
Uh-huh.
It ties in really well with another principle from today's Murali document.
Okay.
And that's the power of simplifying our lifestyles
Right.
to maintain peace and clarity.
Mm-hmm.
It's about recognizing what truly matters
Yeah.
and letting go of all that excess that just kind of weighs us down.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's so important today, in this fast-paced world that we live in.
Yeah.
I mean, we are just constantly bombarded
Yeah.
with information and choices and demands on our time.
Yeah.
It's no wonder so many people feel overwhelmed and stressed.
Yeah. Yeah. And so today's Murali document uses the analogy of like someone who's on a health journey,
Okay.
right? And they decide, okay, I'm going to declutter my pantry.
Yeah.
I'm going to avoid, these really complex diets, They simplify to make it easier to stay on track
Right.
and to focus on their goals.
Yeah.
What a great visualization.
It is. Yeah.
You reduce the excess, whether it's material possessions or commitments, or even like thought patterns.
Oh, yeah.
We create space for what truly matters.
Yeah. It's like clearing out the clutter to allow for more light and air to come in.
I love that.
Uh-huh.
I'm curious, what are some practical ways that we can apply this principle?
Well, it can be as simple as just minimizing your wardrobe,
Okay.
unsubscribing from all those email lists that you never read anymore,
Oh, yeah?
right? Or even setting boundaries around your time.
Yeah.
And, it might also involve practicing things like mindfulness to quiet the mental chatter and create a sense of inner stillness.
So it's about identifying those extras in our lives.
Uh-huh.
They might be weighing us down.
Yeah,
And then consciously choosing to let them go.
right.
Would you say it's a process of, like, refinement?
Yeah.
Focusing our energy on what brings us joy and fulfillment.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's about creating a life that feels spacious and intentional
Yeah.
rather than cluttered and overwhelming.
Right.
And by simplifying, we free up more of our time, more of our energy, and even money to invest in things that align with our values.
Right.
Which brings us back to that principle of trusteeship we discussed earlier.
Full circle.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like we're decluttering not just our physical space, but also our mental and emotional space
Yeah.
to create more room for peace and clarity.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of creating a positive impact,
Okay.
today's Murali document also highlights the importance of maintaining a merciful attitude and helping others elevate themselves.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Instead of focusing on people's flaws or judging their mistakes, we choose to see their potential
Right.
and offer support. It's about recognizing that everyone is on their own journey,
Yeah,
and we can all benefit from a helping hand or a word of encouragement along the way.
for sure.
And today's Murali document gives the example of, mentoring a new colleague.
Uh-huh.
Instead of criticizing their every misstep, you're patiently guiding them,
Yeah.
fostering their growth, strengthening teamwork.
Right.
Reminds me of that saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
It really highlights the transformative impact of encouragement and compassionate guidance.
Right.
And the beautiful thing is that by helping others elevate themselves, we also elevate ourselves.
Yeah.
It creates this ripple effect of positivity,
Oh, yeah.
benefiting both the giver and the receiver.
It's a win-win situation.
Exactly.
And this idea of positive impact leads us to another intriguing principle from today's Murali document.
Okay.
And that's the idea that donation or service, when used wisely, can actually multiply one's fortune.
Interesting.
Now, I'm not just talking about material wealth here.
Right. It goes beyond just the concept of material wealth.
Yeah.
It speaks to those intangible rewards of generosity and service.
Right, exactly. Today's Murali document suggests that, Whether we donate our time or our money, we're investing in something larger than ourselves,
Yeah.
in the well-being of our communities, the progress of humanity.
Right.
And those investments often yield returns, in the form of stronger relationships, a sense of purpose, a deep feeling of inner fulfillment.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness
Yeah.
and understanding that our actions have the power to create a better world for ourselves and for future generations.
Right.
It's like planting seeds that will continue to grow and bear fruit long after we're gone.
I love that. And sometimes, amidst all this growth and giving, we face setbacks.
Yeah.
And that's where the next principle from today's Murali document comes in.
Okay.
It's this reminder that worldly setbacks are temporary.
It's a powerful truth to hold on to,
Yeah.
especially when you're going through those tough times.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the challenges of the moment and lose sight of the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can remember that those setbacks, they're not permanent,
Yeah.
it can really help us maintain a sense of hope and perspective.
Right. And today's Murali document uses the example of, someone losing their job
Mm-hmm.
during company downsizing.
Yeah,
While it's undoubtedly a difficult experience,
of course. Yeah.
it doesn't have to define their future.
It doesn't. In fact, it can actually be a catalyst for positive change.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many successful entrepreneurs who found their path after a layoff.
Right.
They were forced to reevaluate their priorities, tap into their resilience, and often they discovered hidden strengths and talents that they didn't even know they had.
So instead of viewing those setbacks as the end of the story, we can choose to see them as a turning point,
Exactly.
a chance to kind of rewrite the narrative.
Yeah. It's about embracing the unknown with courage and curiosity, knowing that even in the midst of difficulty, new possibilities are always emerging.
It's all about perspective, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Choosing to see the opportunity in the obstacle.
Precisely.
And that perspective shift can make all the difference in how we navigate the ups and downs of life.
You can, yeah.
It allows us to approach challenges with a sense of resilience and even excitement, knowing that they are ultimately leading us towards growth and transformation.
Definitely.
This conversation has been so incredibly insightful.
It has.
And there's still more to explore.
Yes, there is.
Are you ready to dive into those final principles from today's Murali document?
Absolutely. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on the remaining gems of wisdom we have yet to uncover.
Okay, so we're back, and we're ready for these last few principles from today's Murali document.
Okay.
And this next one I think is really interesting because it talks about, nurturing our inner qualities to cultivate true contentment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like we're shifting our focus from external validation to internal fulfillment.
Right.
So instead of seeking happiness in, possessions or achievements, we cultivate it from within.
Yeah, it's a powerful shift in perspective for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And today's Murali document uses a great analogy here. Someone who exercises and meditates regularly.
Okay.
They're building this reservoir of calm and stamina to handle life's pressures.
That's such a good way to put it. It's like we're strengthening our inner muscles.
Yeah.
Our patience, our empathy, perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when challenges arise, we're equipped to face them with more grace and resilience.
Yeah.
And it's not about avoiding difficult emotions or pretending everything is always rosy.
Right, exactly. It's about having those inner resources to navigate those ups and downs without being completely swept away by them.
Yeah.
So this inner fullness that we cultivate, it helps us stay grounded and not be overly affected by those external circumstances.
Right.
And it allows us to respond to challenges with clarity and wisdom rather than just reacting impulsively.
That really resonates with me. It's like cultivating a sense of inner peace
Yeah.
that can weather any storm.
Yeah.
I remember a time when I was going through a really stressful period in my life,
Uh-huh.
and I found that just committing to a daily meditation practice, I was able to approach those challenges with more calmness and clarity than I ever thought possible.
That's a wonderful example of how these principles can be applied in a practical way.
Yeah.
And it brings us to our final principle from today's Murali document.
Okay.
The power of speaking and acting with decency.
Okay.
This idea that truth doesn't need forceful proving.
This one really struck me. Made me think about how often we try to convince others of our point of view,
Right.
through forceful arguments or aggressive tactics.
Mm-hmm.
And today's Murali document uses the analogy of like a heated family argument.
Yeah.
And the person who remains calm and listens patiently often gains more respect than those who are shouting to prove they're right.
It is. It's a powerful reminder that our words and actions speak volumes about our character.
Yeah.
And when we communicate with honesty, respect, and integrity, our message is far more likely to be heard and received. It creates a more harmonious and supportive environment for everyone involved.
Right?
Whether we're dealing with family, colleagues, or even strangers, approaching those interactions with decency and grace can make a world of difference.
It's like that saying, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Right.
Kindness and compassion, they're far more persuasive than aggression or force.
Exactly. Yeah.
This has been such an incredible journey of exploration, and I'm so glad we had these excerpts from today's Merely document to guide us. We've covered so much. From using future happiness as fuel, to embracing obstacles as stepping stones, to simplifying our lives and cultivating inner contentment. These principles offer a truly holistic approach to success, don't they?
They do. They really do. It's been a pleasure diving deep into these principles with you.
Yeah, me too.
They offer a beautiful integration of spiritual wisdom and practical strategies for creating a life that is both fulfilling and meaningful.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I have one final question for our listeners out there.
Okay.
Which of these spiritual principles resonated with you most strongly? And how might you experiment with applying it in your own life this week? Remember, these principles are not just abstract concepts. They're tools that we can use to create a more balanced and meaningful life. So take some time to reflect on what we've discussed and see how you can put these principles into practice.
Great advice.
Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey of exploration. And until next time, keep diving deep and keep seeking those hidden gems of wisdom that can enrich your life.